Hi, I'm Merrilyn Jaquiery, wildlife artist, been one for 50 years, but I just wanted to share with you this wonderful story of New Zealand's black robin. And it was the world's most endangered bird back in 1976, and the wildlife officers at that time decided to take them off the island that they were on, because they only had about 5 hectares to breed in, and being in the Southern Ocean, it's very incredibly wild. They couldn't fly anywhere, and part of the reason for that is that they cleared a patch for a helicopter to land, and it had created in the centre of the bush, and it had created all the inside of the bush to die going out to the other side of the bush. So they decided to take the little birds off, and they caught 7, and there were 2 pairs and 1 extra male. So they decided, and they ferried them across to another island, which was in fact sister island, called Mangere, and it was a lot bigger island and it had a lot more bush in it. But over the 4 years, tragically, the death of the older birds within 4 years offset any overall increase. And by 1980, tragically, there were only 5 birds left. And I had the privilege of working alongside actually World Wildlife Fund New Zealand to bring an awareness to their plight and also to raise the necessary funds for this little endangered bird. So when talking, I met with the wildlife officer, Don Merton. I met with him, and he was able to share with me how amazing that it seemed to be. He felt that the last remaining female in breeding, which was Old Blue, which is here, and I'll bring another story about her later, she seemed to know. She seemed to know that he felt that the species or her generation were endangered of extinction. It was quite an amazing, I see a parable in this whole story, and I minister in parables, so really I feel it is just something that becomes extinct, something that is tragically becoming extinct. It matters to God. And so the most amazing story came out of that, because when we've got the number 5 and there was only 5 left, we have a story of God's grace as well within this. So he was so loving towards these little birds, him and his officers. He decided to experiment with a foster program, and I'll bring that story later as well. But when talking to him, I could feel his heartfelt love to save the black robins. And I also recognised when he was speaking to me how much the black robins, especially Old Blue, trusted him enough to come and get even grubs out of his hand. And so this trust became the essence of the story. I can go and tell you the facts. I can tell you the facts of each generation, but you can research that on Google. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to bring you the other story to what I would call would be an amazing story of help, of grace, and something really, a dedication from both parties. And I felt it was the 2 things that saved the Chatham Island Black Robin. So I'll leave it there, and then I'm going to bring you a close-up, because this is Old Blue. This is the first chick that survived the foster program. This is Old Yellow, the last remaining fertile male. This is Baby Blue, which this Baby Blue was, you know, quite amazing because really they're supposed to be like their lifespan of 8 years, but the last remaining female breeding one, she lasted 13. Now that's a story in itself. And this little one here, is called Pani, and Don Merton brought Pani up because Pani in Maori means orphan. So I'll continue on with different prints so you can see the detail of each print that I have done. And then at the end of this video, I'll bring what I believe and what I use actually, because it's just so precious, a parable about us as well, in being likened to this whole story. Here we have the foster program, and I was talking about that before. This is the Chatham Island tomtit feeding a black robin. They were the most suitable birds out of all of the birds, well, out of the others that they had tried. They had tried a little warbler which wasn't suitable, the nest wasn't suitable, but the Chatham Island tomtit's nest was very similar to the black robin. So there's a little picture depicting a little Chatham Island tomtit feeding a little black robin chick. This is the poster girl. I call her the poster girl. This is Old Blue sitting on her nest, and we see the leaves around there as the Chatham Island Jaquiery. But this is her. I depicted her on the nest. I actually got the nest from the Auckland Museum and was able to bring it home and depict her on the nest. So this is a wonderful little painting. It was used for a calendar to bring an awareness to a lot of those in New Zealand that were looking at Old Blue at the time. There was a lot of media articles on this little bird. As I said before, she had lasted up to the age of 13, which is quite incredible, really. This is a picture of Old Yellow, and he's seen I just brought in the yellow within the pepper tree branches of the pepper tree leaves here. But Old Yellow was the only effective breeding male at the most crucial time. And Old Blue and all the black robins alive today have descended from him. He didn't get the publicity that his mate Old Blue got, but he was just as important. Here we have Crunch, and Crunch was the very first chick to come out of the beginning of the foster program. He was a little chick that survived the little Chatham Island warbler's nest, which was shaped like a little football really, just a small one, but it just wasn't strong enough to hold a black robin when they were really, coming through and getting older and bigger. But really, he did survive. This one did survive, and he was the very first, and it would have been an encouragement to the wildlife officers that if they looked for a different type of bird to bring them up, that the actual foster program would work. Here we have Baby Blue, and she was an important part of the family tree. That's why I've included her within the painting called Grace, which I showed you in the beginning. Baby Blue was the last chick that Old Blue had before she disappeared at 13 years old. So she's a major part of the family tree within the painting. This is the last of the 5 birds on my picture of Grace, and this is Pani, and Pani was an orphan, and Don Merton decided to bring Pani up himself, and he was a surrogate father of this dear little bird of the Black Robin series. So this is the end of the video, and you've seen pictures of the calendar that I've done of also these 5. So we look at Old Blue, Crunch, Old Yellow, Baby Blue, and little Pani. So in my first paragraph I wrote that God does not want to see anything, and neither do we, any life of one of his precious creations become extinct. We don't either. And in the Black Robin story, the wildlife officers were sent to save the black robins from becoming extinct. And I liken this to, in the parable, I liken this to God sending his son Jesus to earth, so that we mankind, who are a precious creation, who are made in the very same image of him, he gave his life for us all. He gave his life for us all. And he said to the multitudes, he said, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life." And today, these little black robins are off the most endangered list. And Old Blue, she was the mother, the grandmother, and the grandmother of all of the species today. And I look at this as number one, it was the dedication of those who are assigned to the project. Yes, it was their job as wildlife officers, but in all truth, it also was their hearts to save something so precious. And I know personally of the heartfelt love that these wildlife officers had for her and the species. And two, it was the acceptance of Old Blue to adjust herself, adjust her life, to trust in the one who had come to save her. Doesn't that sound familiar? And so wildlife along with nature is something that Jesus did use in his teachings, because the parables brought enlightenment to the multitudes that really were lost, didn't understand. And today, it's much the same, and so that's why I've chosen this particular video to speak about something so precious, something so wonderful in my career as well, that I wanted to share in this enlightenment as well. And wildlife along with nature, I love it, is something that is expressive. A wildlife artist, and especially me, that does birds and bush and anything of the earth, I'm really just copying what is actually a copy of the original. And so, I appreciate when we go out, and I know a lot of us, especially in today, we're in 2023, with all of the stuff that's going on in the world, sometimes it just makes sense to go out and look at the surroundings, look at the sunsets, look at the birds, listen to the birds, to bring you back into reality of just how things should be, and so I just end it there, and I just say God bless you for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed this video.